Okay, the Democrats have a new focus-tested phrase that's pro-Putin Republicans. And basically it kind of goes like this. If Republicans are not ready to spend another $100 billion, if they aren't ready to bankrupt the country for Ukraine, they're pro-Putin. What Republicans are saying is we have our own priorities, like the border, that have to be addressed first. Here's Nancy Pelosi.
My pleasure, but remember, the longer they take for Ukraine, more people will die, more women will be raped, more children will be kidnapped, and it'll be all on them. We have to get them to move.
That all sounds like our border. My first guest represents Wyoming's at-large congressional district representative, Harriet Hageman. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Andrew.
How is it unreasonable for Republicans to say, we have to deal with our own border first? They are essentially saying, we'll give you the border after you give us Ukraine. Is it not their border too? Is it not their sovereignty too? Is it not their rule of law as well?
We're not dealing with serious people here, Andrew. We're dealing with people that for some reason that they believe that we should be spending over $160 billion on Ukraine. And as you point out, we're not protecting our own border. When she describes the kinds of things that may be happening in Ukraine, those things are happening in spades in the United States. And she doesn't seem to care. She doesn't care what the impact is on American citizens. For some reason, they're obsessed with Ukraine. But the reality is we need to secure our own border. But the other thing about Ukraine is we need to have some metric by which we can determine whether we are winning or losing. We need to have some idea of what the ultimate goal is. The average age of a Ukrainian soldier right now is 43 years old. What does that tell you? It tells you that they have killed an entire generation of young men in Ukraine. And we still don't know what they're going to ultimately say is going to be the win or the loss. Here they want to talk about a ceasefire in Gaza, but they won't talk about a ceasefire with Ukraine and Russia. I just think it's absurd, and I'll say it again, they're very unserious people.
You know, here's what I don't get. They keep saying this is on Republicans, this is on Republicans. How come Barack Obama and Joe Biden didn't prevent the invasion in the first place while Hillary was holding the reset button?
That's exactly right. This isn't our fault. Because we're asking for accountability for the American people, that is not a bad thing. We're asking for transparency. We're asking for information, and we're just simply saying a country without a border is not a country. If they want to secure the Ukrainian border, why wouldn't we secure our own first?
Hakeem Jeffries is 4 votes away from becoming Speaker of the House. I want you to hear what he said. This is focus tested. He's a bad actor. It's almost like he's constantly doing a bad Barack Obama impersonation. But here he is. Republicans of the pro-Putin caucus.
With respect to the border issue, it's my view that the administration will continue to proceed and make sure that these discussions are consistent with our values as a nation of immigrants, but also consistent with our values as a nation anchored in the rule of law.
If an agreement is reached, do you believe the Speaker will put it on the floor?
That remains to be seen because the pro-Putin caucus of the House Republican Conference is extreme, it's loud, and it's growing.
I don't think they focus tested that one on independent voters. I think any reasonable human being would say, we've already sent $100 billion and more to Ukraine. The Republicans are saying secure the border, then we can talk about what foreign nations need after.
We are $34 trillion in debt in this country. We have an invasion on our southern and even in some places on our northern border. We have to secure our border. It is affecting every single community across this state. Mayor Adams in New York indicated that it costs them about $35,000 per illegal alien student that they are bringing into their schools. In August, he announced that they had 20,000 illegal aliens. That is $1 billion in cost just for that one issue of educating children who should not be here in the first place. We have to secure the border. What I found interesting in listening to that is it's almost as though he had it memorized and he was trying to recite it back verbatim, because what he is saying is absolutely absurd. This isn't about being pro-Putin. This is about being pro-American. And the fact that they are more pro-Ukrainian than American, I think, is very telling.
You know, I don't understand this. We're having to borrow money now to cover the cost of Ukraine. Why doesn't Ukraine borrow the money? We borrow money all the time. Like you said, $34 trillion in debt. Why aren't they issuing bonds? Why aren't they selling oil and natural gas rights? Why aren't they having to raise some of their own money? I don't understand that. We borrow money all the time.
Well, I agree with that. And the fact is that the money that we're sending over there, over 50% of it is funding their government, funding government services, funding pensions, funding salaries, funding garbage collection. Why in the world are we funding the government of Ukraine? Again, this is an absurdity. It makes absolutely no sense, not when we're $34 trillion in debt. I'm pro-American, and we are not a country of immigrants. We are a country of citizens. And when he talks about the rule of law, one of the most important laws that we need to enforce is our immigration laws. And this administration has not been doing that. And as a result, we have over 10 times the population of the state of Wyoming that has come across that border illegally in the last 3 years. It's not sustainable. We're going to have long-term issues associated with educating non-English speaking kids. You go to New York City, you see hundreds, and you see people, the homeless everywhere, and you can tell that they're foreigners. They don't understand our language. They don't speak our language. They don't understand our culture. They don't have a job. That we're moving into winter. This is a very cruel and inhumane policy that the Biden administration has been pursuing, and it needs to stop.
Ma'am, if you come to this city, I'll give you a personal tour of everything you just described. I see it every day. One quick last thing, and it's got to be quick, so I'm going to run out of time. What about going forward? Is it fair for Republicans to say, you know, when this is over, are we expected to rebuild their infrastructure, their education system, their housing? We've already been told we're going to convert them to green energy. When this war is over, we're going to be $1 trillion by the time this is all over?
That's one of the greatest fears that I have as well, Andrew, because they've already been making some noise about that, of what it's going to take to rebuild this country. And they're doing it. Ukraine is one of the largest wheat exporters and one of the largest fertilizer exporters. Yet this whole Green New Deal, what they're trying to do in terms of destroying our infrastructure and our domestic energy policy, they're going to try to do this without allowing Ukraine to do the things that it would do best. So it's kind of a bizarre situation that they're in. It's almost like it's a little pet project, and it makes absolutely no sense that they've gone all in for this while they at the same time are ignoring the threats of China, while we are filling Russia's coffers with money, with oil money, because we won't produce domestically, while we are empowering Iran and Venezuela and Saudi Arabia because we will not become energy independent. So every decision that they make is contrary to the previous decision that they make, and they're almost counterbalancing and counteracting each other. So it's just an absolute mess with this White House. And again, we've got to get back to some common sense, put America first, and the rest of the world will be better off for it.
Yeah. And again, Republicans aren't saying they want to cut off Ukraine entirely. They just want to solve our own problems first. That's what the government of the United States is here to do.